Welcome to the Tactical Business Podcast. I'm your host, Wade Skalski, and today we are granted, joined, whatever else I can think of with our co-host.
Blessed.
Blessed, yes, I like it. With John McCoy. John, how you doing, sir?
Good morning, Mr. Skalski.
Thank you. That was so formal. So formal today. I like it. That's like when my son tries to call me Wade. I'm like, oh no, it is either Dad or Mr. Skalski. Those are your two choices.
You don't understand how this works, son. Okay.
Yes, exactly. Enforced under the penalty of the threat of violence. So
exactly.
That's how we operate in my house. All right, cool. Well, I'm excited to kind of chat with you today. We're going to be chatting about some headlines, some different stuff, and let's just get right off the bat with kind of an interesting topic right now for something that's a lot more accessible to people, I think, as the suppressors. So let's rock and roll.
All right. So the Silencer Shop, which is a retailer, but I think they also make their own silencers, is running a special right now on B&T. They're slim. Let me see here. They are the SRBS. So it stands for slim. Trying to open the browser. Here we go. Slimline reduced back pressure suppressors. They are in 5.56 and 7.62. And one of their options is 100% titanium. Now, what makes these actually super cool, I did some digging. These are 3D printed silencers. So, yeah, completely made of additive manufacturing. And expect to see this. This is actually something I've written about a lot in aviation. Expect to be seeing a lot more additive manufacturing in the firearms industry and just in industry in general. The metals printing is just, I mean, it's really still in its infancy, and it's going to get so good. And it's really cool because it's really fast, it's really precise, and it produces incredible products that are hard to do with a CNC. Because with additive manufacturing, you can create contours and other types of things that are just really, really hard to do if you're going to CNC it out of a solid block of material.
Now, when you say CNC, so, I know that you come from an aircraft mechanic background and a machine shop background. I don't know what that means. So I'm like a normal human being. So,
all right. So CNC basically is a milling machine that is computer guided. I'd have to look up. I don't remember what the acronym is.
That's all right. You don't have to worry about it. But I guess that's what it was. But I know that if I'm thinking it, there's somebody out there listening right now is like, I don't understand what that means.
All right. So basically, when you use a CNC, though, you are taking a solid block of material. So you're going to take a solid piece of bar stock or block of aluminum or steel or titanium, whatever medium you're going to work with. You put it in there, you program it, and it has to mill away the material. All right. So you can see how that does have some limitations for contours and unique shapes. Whereas additive manufacturing, you start with a build plate on the bottom and you add materials up. So it starts from the bottom and it goes up. So you can make any shapes and any curvatures, anything you want. And it builds it up. So you don't have the limitation. You're actually doing it by additive. So it's adding materials. Whereas CNC and machining is the process of removing materials.
Right. And this is what I think is exciting about, this is the part of 3D printing, which I think should be the focus of a lot of the firearms vertical, right? Is on the positive sort of parts machining side, and not so much on the you can make a ghost gun out of your house, which is fine, which is cool, right? Which is like, hey, listen, you can have that view or whatever you want, but that's not a winner with the government. Do you know what I mean?
That's not.
And so the thing is, like, you're not going to be able to stop it.
No.
So no matter what, the 3D printing is here to stay, because there's no way to regulate it unless you ban the machines, which they're not going to be able to do.
Yeah. Good luck with that.
Yeah, exactly. And so, like, I look at it as not as a, F you, I will assert my right. But I look at this, how can we have a strategy to win? Right?
Yes. What's the winning strategy?
What's the winning strategy to get what we want? And so, because there is something called the federal government that needs to be contended with. It's not just simply going to go away by wishing it away. And I think yeah, exactly. And I think that approaching it from the machining part of, like, the aircraft mechanic part, computers, like whatever, if your normal people can start to see how good 3D printing is for machining and how it can make everything very inexpensive going forward over time, is that, like, they're 3D printing houses, for God's sakes. I think then you can start to get a public groundswell that's you're not gonna throw the baby out with the bathwater.
Totally. And I mean, we're not talking, these are not a $200 Ender 3 that I just bought off of Amazon, which I did. It's sitting next to me. But may or may not be used for firearms purposes. And these are very, very, very expensive machines. These are metal 3D printers. So these are layering titanium and other alloys. So this is very high-end stuff. This isn't Uncle Bob is back there making shine and gun and AR receivers. This is very, very high-end stuff. And it's really exciting technology. So the rest of the story is actually not about them being 3D printed suppressors. What it is Silencer Co. is running a deal. So if you buy one of these B&T SRBS, the line of them, they're going to cover your tax stamp as a rebate.
Yeah, so, that's amazing.
Yeah, I mean, and it's obviously they're trying to get people to use these. And this is a safety thing. I mean, how many people have tinnitus because they're like, oh, if I shoot a 300 Win Mag at 5 deer a year, it doesn't make a difference. Yes, it does.
Right.
It absolutely does. You preserve your ears. You only get one set. All right. And these are a legitimate safety item. These make shooting safer. They make it better. So,
and that's the one thing I think that people don't, it's like the AK-47, right? Which is like, I had a previous guy that I interviewed on the show, and he said something that has always stuck with me, and he's exactly right. It's like a lot of people view the AK-47 as a bad guy gun because of what they've seen of it in the movies, right? Mm-hmm. And so the same thing happens. Like, I always ask myself, well, what's the normie view of first of all, they would call it a silencer, right?
Yes.
And not a suppressor. Well, then I call things clips all the time, not magazines, because I'm sure I've done it on the show and I get in trouble from the purists, right? In terms of, right. But that's because that's where you come from. It's like, okay, yeah, I understand, like, what is the normal person view of this thing? And they think of it as a silencer where someone like a killer is going to put it on his pistol and then like whack somebody, right? And that's that's the only purpose of it. And so there's this education bridge that I think two things are happening. One is this is they're only going to get less expensive, right?
Yep.
Doing it this way. But two is that actually the ATF is approving these much faster. People don't know this, but you used to have to wait months and 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 months. There are ranges that have part of their business model is, okay, you can buy the suppressor from us, put the application in, and while you're waiting, you can come to the range and shoot it. Nice. while you're waiting, right? And that's actually part of their business model because it was taking so long for these things to get approved. And now some people are getting approvals just in a couple of days, which no one really knows why. I don't know. Do you have an opinion on that?
No, I haven't really followed up on the class, like the class 3 stuff. Like I don't really, I thought it was still in the months category. I wasn't aware that they've been speeding up the process.
Yeah. Some people are getting it with the online applications like super fast.
That's weird.
It is weird. Strange. Yeah, well, I mean, maybe it's just
what's going on.
Maybe it's just they've streamlined their approval process. You know what I'm saying? Maybe it's just like they don't want to deal with it anymore, and they're just like, we're going to do this, the approval process automatically in this way. Or I don't know. I don't know what the ATF does.
It's probably just from creating more revenue because they figure the faster they produce them, people just buy more stuff and send in more Form 4s.
Well, and there's money on the tax stamp. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
But anyway,
did you know that the tax stamp was $200 when they originally envisioned it in the 1920s or 30s? Which then $200 is equivalent to like $1,400.
Yeah.
It hasn't actually gone up.
Yeah. Well, let's not put that out there too much because let's not give anybody ideas.
Yeah, we're not trying to give them ideas.
But maybe that's what they're doing. Like maybe they're like, okay, that's their plan. It's like, okay, we're going to streamline these processes and then we're going to jack it up to $1,000 for the tax.
Oh my gosh.
Or whatever, right? So yeah. Anyway, but I think the one thing I think you said is really important is that the first of all, it doesn't make a gun silent. Right?
No.
If you've ever heard it literally just suppresses the sound. It makes it so it doesn't just destroy your ears. And also, I wish everyone on my indoor range when they're shooting their ARs would use suppressors because
for real,
it's extremely loud, loud, right?
It's extremely loud when my neighbor shoots his, in the pasture across the way.
Yeah. So, but this is exciting. Like I do think that this is cool because I also don't think that normal people understand the amount of force that is involved and what these cans have to endure from a 5.56 round coming right out of the barrel, and just how much force is put on these things.
It's enormous pressures.
So that's exciting. Like, I think that's cool that that they're doing that, because I think the tax stamp thing, it's kind of a gimmick, maybe just to get people to get familiar with the brand and to maybe start to be like, oh, maybe I will choose this over something else. But it does. I mean, I just think they're cool, and they're also pretty cool looking. Actually,
they are.
It's just real simple gunmetal gray.
And I mean, I will say, like, these are pretty high end. I mean, I look at the MSRP of the SRBS 762 Ti, and it's over $1,300. So I mean, like, if you're already shelling that kind of cash, what, $200 for the tax stamp, you shouldn't be buying it if you can't tack that on. So I mean, it's definitely, it's just a sales gimmick. But hey, if it gets people in the door and buying the product, that's cool.
Well, and you know that someone's going to be putting this on a Palmetto Armory Blem
$400 rifle with
it's like, they're going to do that, right? So
yes,
and that's okay, because actually the rifle can handle it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'm looking at a thermal scope right now for $1,000. That's a clip-on. And the reason why I'm justifying it was like, well, I can use it if the power goes out, just like a monocle, and then if I need to, I just clip it on, right? So
I think you've been hanging out with the SEALs too long.
No, it's actually it's brush beater. It's brush beater that's selling me on that right now.
Yeah.
So, when I hang out with the SEALs, I don't talk guns at all. Like that's just silly. Like, why would I do that?
Why would I subject myself to that humiliation?
That would be like if you and I hung out and you would start to talk to me about like your views on being a trial attorney.
Yeah, it'd be so dumb.
Right? You'd be like, well, why are you? I've been LARPing a little bit as a trial attorney, and
you're like, that's illegal. Stop it immediately.
That this cross-examination technique is awesome. I'm really, and I'm going out on the weekends and I'm trying it out and role-playing it on different people. It's awesome.
Like, by the way, I will never LARP as a trial attorney. So
I don't think anybody will. Except for my mock trial students on my mock trial team that I'm coaching this fall. All right, cool. So that's awesome. Yeah, and like suppressor is on my list after thermal though, because I want to be able to see in the dark and be really loud. That's my whole goal.
Perfect.
Yeah, exactly. So that's, I think that's cool. I think people should just pick it out, check it out, even if they're not going to buy a suppressor right now, to start to become familiar with these things, because they are going to come. The 3D printing is eventually going to make things come down in price.
Absolutely, it will.
Just like computers, absolutely. Right? Like now you can buy a lightning fast computer for a desktop for $500. That is just incredible. So
yeah, exactly.
All right, let's go on to the Omega Glock19 magazine. So Elite Tactical Systems. Like, I just like to say it like that because I think it sounds kind of cool.
So apparently we weren't sure if the world needed another polymer Glock mag, but Elite Tactical Systems thought otherwise. So let's take a look at this.
Well, first of all, I think it's kind of cool that
it's translucent. That's cool.
That you can see through it. Although it is a little bit, the utility of that, and it looks like they've got Hornady critical defense rounds in there, which
those are nice. I keep those in my guns.
That's what I run in my Glock.
Yeah,
both of my Glocks, my EDC and my bump in the house nightstand. And so those are nice. At least that's what it looks like. I could be wrong in that, but it looks like them. But anyways, so the utility of a see-through magazine is a little less than a handgun because it's covered. Right?
Yeah, it's in the mag well.
Right, So it's like, all right, so there's that. I mean, I guess it's just cool to look at, I guess. But anyway, what did you think about this?
I read over it. I mean, it looks like they've put a lot of effort into perfecting what most people consider the perfect magazine. They went to make it light. They did combine polymers with steel, so I mean it's pretty sturdy. My overall takeaway is if you feel like your 35 Glock mags isn't enough, throw on a couple more. Give these a shot.
Well, let me ask you
this, especially since everything under the sun, like Ruger, what do they call those, PCC, pistol caliber carbines, and all those other brands all use Glock mags. I mean, can you really ever have enough?
Well, no, but the thing is I think the challenge. So the Glock19, for example, do you run a Glock19? No, you're a sick person, right?
No, I'm very lazy. I have an old Smith & Wesson M&P.
All right, cool. Well, but I run a Glock19, right? It's like, what do you think is, if you were to say, it would be the stock Glock 19 magazine, would you just go with the
OEM, just the factory mags?
Yeah. I mean, because it's
like, why wouldn't you?
They're right, great. Exactly. Well, I used to. What about Magpul? I was like, well, okay.
I mean, they're really good, but like, I mean, Glock. They call it Glock perfection for a reason. It's like the Camry that you put in a holster. Like,
well, it's like and that's the thing. It's like it. That it's not. There's just the same factory. Work that makes the most dependable EDC gun ever, the most bought. Okay, let's just say by maybe people will argue, but we can't argue that it is the most. The Glock 19 is by far the most purchased everyday carry gun.
It is. Yes,
especially Gen 3. Like I actually own a Gen 3, and so why wouldn't you get that from that? But we are talking about them. But this is cool if you want to kind of go gooch, like if you want to go to the range and start to have fun with what you're doing, right?
Yes. So, well, I know why they did it though. It is lighter than an all steel mag, and that's why they did it. I mean, it says it's 50% lighter. Obviously Glock proved since the early 1980s that polymer is, I mean, every advanced polymers are every bit as durable as steel for most uses. Like, look, I'm not driving over my Glock and my magazines with a dump truck. All right. And no one else is either. If you are, you're stupid, it's just dumb. So, I mean, for everyday use, it might be important for the guy that wants to carry an extra mag, for everyday carry and one in the gun, if it weighs half as much,
Well, because I guess you're saying you can have two mags for the price of one, because it's for the weight of one.
Yeah, well, it adds up.
But this is that's a small person problem, right? Because I'm 6'4", 215. I could rock a battle belt with, like, I'm going hiking. I could have I could walk around with a battle belt on that has like a med kit on it. I could have a tarp on there. Like I wouldn't hurt my hips, right? It wouldn't bother me, all day long. So maybe it's a small person problem, because $25.99, that's expensive. But I can see, I guess if you're gonna if you're gonna rock it every day and you're gonna get tired, I mean, I can definitely see it. So I'm not bad mouthing the Omega Max.
They also coated them with Teflon for I think their idea there is to improve the releasability. So that's, hey, go give them a shot,
Well, and the other thing too is I'm not, and this is, never say never. I'm not at the point in my journey to where I'm good enough to start calculating what's my weight. Like, what I'm saying? Like, I'm still putting rounds on the target to the point of where I'm still like, okay, I'm competent, but, there's not going to be any difference in draw speed, or what I'm doing. But if you're at that point, then I can see how this would make sense.
Sure. If you're running 3-gun using a Glock 19, like a super high-end 19 derivative, and weight actually matters because fractions of a second matter, and especially in terms of like high performance guns where, like in 3-gun, they're dropping magazines fast, then maybe that actually does make a difference. But I mean, for you and me, probably doesn't.
I will tell you how this will. I just thought of something though, how it would make a difference is that because these are not ubiquitous, no one's going to steal your mags.
That's true.
So this is a good. That is one thing too, where that's an advantage of is like, or they may steal it because it looks cool. They're like, I'm taking it, right? But no one's going to accidentally take it.
Right. Yeah. There's truth in that.
I shoot this, my firearms instructor, we shoot this. I'm a Glock person because he's a Glock person and he's the guy that taught me to shoot, right? So we shoot all the same. Everything we have is the same. So I would say every like 5th time that I take a lesson from him, I'm walking off the range with something that's his on accident. You know what I mean? So it's like, because it's like all the same, so
yeah.
He always gets it back though after I discover it and I feel bad.
Or you can crudely draw your name into it with a Sharpie like I do.
Yeah, I mean, I see some people that they that they have. I don't have. I mean, how many? I mean, I got a bandolier for my Glock mags, and I got also for my 5.56 mags, and then I've got a couple. So I mean, I don't have 500 mags in my house. I just have a few. You know what I'm saying? But I don't know why I have the bandolier for the Glock mags. It's not a very common situation that you would need one.
Throw a bandolier Glock mags.
If you need a bandolier Glock mags, you should probably just get the AR out.
You probably should.
Right. So if you're like, oh, I'm going to need 6 mags. I'm like, no, get get the green tip bandolier. Time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. So, but that's just a me problem. So anyways, I get a little squirrely. Okay. So those are now that I'm looking at though, it is kind of cool. Cause also the other thing too, is that if you're into the clear magazines for your AR, like your 5.56 rounds or whatever, you're going to, maybe you want to match it. Cause I don't think I've seen an option for Glock that has the clear like that.
I don't think so.
So that would be something too, is then if that's how you like to rock your magazines, you're just like, well, I'm going to do my sidearms along that way. So this is growing on me. In the beginning
if
of this,
aesthetics is a really big deal to you, then
these are growing on me now. Now I'm like, well,
which is funny because the stock Glock 19 is one of those aesthetically bland firearms that's ever existed.
It can be. I mean, if you go, you have some options now in terms of if you're going to go with, the Palmetto, going with the dagger and stuff. You can start to get a little fun with the slide and stuff. All right, this is growing on me now. I have now moved up a notch from where I started the podcast on. So, all right, cool. All right, what do we got next?
So, if you are a Civilian Marksmanship Program armorer, American Gunsmithing Institute now has partnered up with the CMP to go through actual certified professional gunsmith training. Good for you if you're already an armorer. And, frankly, and I'm telling myself this, the CMP is a great program. It's got clubs all over everywhere. It really is great for learning marksmanship. I should probably get my children involved in it. If you are already an armorer there, that they will go ahead and push you over the top to a full-fledged gunsmith is really rad. And the article actually went in depth, and I actually wasn't aware. I never did armor or anything like that when I was in the military, so I didn't know the difference. So an armorer is basically versed in one specific weapon system. So like if you're an M4 armorer, you can do full disassembly, like complete disassembly, and then full assembly, and then some minor repairs just on that specific weapon system. But what the CMP is doing is they're partnering up. So as a gunsmith, you aren't encumbered to being limited to just whatever one weapons platform you are an armorer on, and you can actually do modifications, not just repairs. So it's cool for them, definitely cool for the end user, especially I think as real hard skills are going to become an even much more valuable commodity in the coming years.
Well, and I think for two reasons. One is you can take it for the wherever things are headed and the preparedness thing. You're going to need people who are going to need how to do that. So yeah, but two is I look at it the same way that I look at the CPA problem is that they're just aging out. Right?
Yes.
So, and it's the same thing with the trade. So there's this whole group of people that have serviced the gunsmithing needs. Okay. But now what's happening is the gunsmith group is shrinking, and the group of enthusiasts that need them, they're growing. And so there's going to be this huge need. Now, if I wasn't totally not great with my hands, right? If I wasn't completely incompetent as a handy person, I would actually go be a gunsmith, right? But but I've had situations where I took my Glock or my AR apart, and then a spring just kind of flew out of nowhere, and I was like, I'm not sure I need that spring. And I put it back together, it still works, right?
Definitely need that spring.
Don't need it, nope, because still shoots. I don't know what this tiny little spring. I don't know what I needed it for. It wasn't out of the main mechanism. It was somewhere out of the stock or something. Don't need it. Still shooting. So it's fine. It's fine. So that's not really a gunsmith approach that you want to take.
No, it's not.
But I was having a really good interview on the podcast with someone who, talking about having a gunsmith at the range. And I think it is such a competitive advantage for businesses. Even if you don't have a range, but just to have a gunsmith as your brick and mortar, if you just sell guns, because there is always a need for it. And the need creates a psychological attachment to your business. Because if I have a shotgun, that is a family heirloom that I want to have it fixed, or you'll love this. So that I have a gun that my dad just gave me, and it's getting shipped in, and it's a Finnish long rifle.
Nice.
It's a 308 lever gun.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's really cool. So I'm shipping it out. I'm going to take that bad boy to the gunsmith. I'm going to be like, take it apart, clean it, make sure it's safe, do everything to it, make it look awesome. And it's an heirloom. It's like, I'm never selling that gun. Right. And, and then I'll have an emotional attachment to the place that did that for me, because it's my dad's gun that, it's his deer gun. And so he gives that to me, and then I'm going to, go out and shoot some things with it.
Perfect. I love it.
Animals.
Right. Obviously.
Yeah, go ahead.
So what I see this as being akin to is a long time ago when I was an airport manager for the Army. We had a civilian side, and the guy that ran it, he was telling me that he had gone for years by running the it's called a fixed base operator, where guys get gas and they grab coffee, when they're going cross country. And he's like, I did it for years without being an FAA certified mechanic. And, basically all of his peers were like, how do you do that without being a mechanic? And he's like, not very well. So he went and became a mechanic, even though he wasn't really going to be a knuckle dragger turning wrenches. It's kind of the same concept, that you want to have a full blown gunsmith on staff, not because they're going to be constantly immersed in doing that work all the time, but because someone's coming through and they have an unsafe weapon, or they just are having problems with it. You need to have someone who is actually skilled in the full spectrum of gun repairs. Kind of like you need to have an airplane mechanic there, because sometimes stuff happens,
Yeah.
And so,
you can't know everything as a consumer either, right?
No. And I was going to say that, in the age of YouTube and in Rumble and those things, you can learn a lot, but the problem is there's no weeding out process of bad information.
Right.
So you have people who
There's not a community notes for YouTube.
Correct. So you have people who think that they can do actual advanced gunsmithing with no concept of how, the downstream effects of doing this one thing are on the safety and integrity. Because I'm like, you guys, the pressures that a gun is exposed to are extreme.
Like ignoring that spring, just can't find it. That's fine. Like doing that.
It's probably fine. Yeah, it's probably fine.
It still shows. I know what spring it is. I know if I need to go put it back.
It's like I was just Googling it. But if you don't actually know what you're doing there, you can create a very unsafe weapon.
Well, yeah, like, okay, so this gun that my dad is giving me, this gun from Finland, right? It's I don't know how you pronounce it, but it's it's SAKO, so it's either a
Seiko.
Seiko,
yeah.
So, like, I don't know anything about those guns. I don't know anything about them, right? And it's an old gun, so it's just it's like from the 80s, right? So it's like an 80s lever gun from Finland, right? Like, I'm not going on YouTube and be like, how do I make sure that this is working correct? Like, I take it into a professional, and it probably hasn't been shot 30 years, like, and that just is a great, and that's why I think, guns, like the gunsmithing is it's an underutilized, neglected part of the 2A tent that I think when we have programs like this, I think really need to be put out there, because there's not a lot of growth on the AR side of things, right? That's pretty much saturated, right? But there's a ton of upside on the.
And frankly, you really don't need a gunsmith to help you with an AR.
Well, I might.
Okay.
So.
Most of us don't.
Right. No, I'm just joking.
But it is extremely simple.
Yeah, of course.
In the way it's assembled.
It's Legos. That's why it makes it so
Legos.
Great. Right.
Most guns are not assembled like an AR.
Have you ever tried to take apart a revolver?
No.
Right. or like like a 1911, right? Or something like that. Like, don't do it.
Don't do it. Yeah, just don't do it. Yeah. I actually did play around when I was younger with a revolver, and fortunately, I got far enough in without taking things actually apart to see how it worked, and I put it all back together. Like, I had the grips off, and I'm like looking at it, and I'm like, don't touch that. Just put the grips back on. You don't need. Just wipe it down and put it back together, John. Just leave it alone.
One of the signs of wisdom is you get into something and you're like,
I can't do this.
So, yeah, it's. I was going to make a joke about beer goggles there, but I'm not going to. I will let everyone make their own joke there about beer goggles and wisdom of not going there, and realizing in the moment that perhaps what's happening is a bad idea. I'm a happily married man for a long time now, though, so I don't remember those days. All right, Let's see here. All right, so anytime we talk about a holster, I feel like I'm cheating on my holster company that I write for, but let's talk about these guys, because We can talk about the Falco rotating EDC shoulder holster, because who I write for does not do leather and they do not do shoulder holsters. So let's talk about the Miami Vice Falco rotating shoulder.
You beat me to it, man. Falco has been around for a long time. They are one of the, I'm not saying older, but they've been around for a while. So I read on this one, and what I liked about this was the modularity of them. So if you want to go from a Smith & Wesson J frame to a 1911, we're sticking the 1980s here. You can do that. You can pop that off and you can slip another one on. So I thought that was pretty cool. I don't really know how many people are rocking shoulder holsters, but I feel like there should be a renaissance of shoulder holsters because the sex appeal is unmatched with a good leather shoulder holster.
Well, the thing is, if you've ever done anything with leather, like a leather sheath for a knife, or there's just the smell of leather, right?
Yes.
There's like something cool about it. And I mean, now your purists, I'll be an advocate here, or a devil's advocate here, is like there's some challenges for EDC because instead of
you have to be wearing a coat or something.
Well, exactly. You got to work like, so when I was rocking my trial attorney days and I wore a suit every day, I could probably rock a shoulder holster, although I think when I was a prosecutor, I probably could have taken a gun into the courthouse, but they won't let you take a gun into the courthouse, even as a lawyer in California. So Virginia, though, probably you could, where I am now, but I don't practice here. So, but good story, Wade. Great podcast content right there.
Perfect.
Perfect. Yeah, no, but the two things about the shoulder holster that I'm sure is, one is that, your gun's not pointing at the ground, number one, right? So it's like you're flagging everybody behind you always. Yes. Right? Instead of yourself. And then like, I don't know how fast you can get this thing out. Like, that's the thing, is because there's a clip on it. So, whereas like, so for my EDC, there's no, it's just a Kydex. I just pull that bad boy out. There's no mechanism that stops it from grabbing it. Right. So,
oh yeah. This just use an old school snap.
Yeah. You're just,
no one does that anymore.
Well, yeah, because it doesn't stop anything. But I mean, like I said, so again, I think that you're an older gentleman, like older than me, right? So 1,000,000% that you can put a 1911 in this, yeah.
Yeah.
That's like 1,000,000%, yeah. Like that's their and it's expensive too, right? So it's interesting because they're advertising on here that you can put on a light. You can get one for a light, you can get one for a laser.
It says up to 3,000 different basic combinations of, since it's modular, that you can swap out the holster part.
Right.
And they said,
it's $120 just for the premium, which is kind of expensive compared to Kydex, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you're ready to draw, simply unsnap the security strap and the holster rotates to an angle that promotes a more comfortable grip and rapid draw. I mean, that's...
Oh, I see. I'm looking at their little 360 spinning thing. I mean, for no one's going to use this unless they're a cop, because you have to wear a coat to work. Like, I mean, if you're in the winter, I guess, because I hate inner waistbands. I hate wearing them. I actually wear
I can't wear them appendix. I have to wear it strong side.
I always wear an outer waistband just because, and I don't tuck my shirts in because I'm a slob. So, I put it over, I don't open care. I'm not that guy, but I always go with an outer waistband just because it's more comfortable. I know it prints a little bit more, but I'm still careful about it. So I'm not showing it off.
Here's what
I'm in Kansas. No one cares.
Yeah, no one cares. And someone made a really good point the other day on one of the interviews, is that like, no one is paying attention to you. Like in our modern society, the only people that know that you're carrying are other people that carry.
Yeah, that's it. Those are the only people that
that's the only people that see printing. They don't even know what it is. Like the only people that are aware is like, I could pretty much now know. I'm pretty good at figuring out if someone's carrying now, just after carrying, right?
Totally.
But I will say that what this leather might have an advantage over Kydex is the fact that it is modular in terms of for more than one EDC carrying gun, right? So instead of having to have, because for your Kydex, you have the exact Kydex holster for the exact gun. Right?
Yeah, it doesn't work for anything else.
Right, exactly. Whereas it shouldn't, because then it screws up the retention in there. Whereas this, It seems like now, and did I read this correctly? Where it is facing down on the shoulder, so
it's facing down, and then it rotates.
It rotates when you clip it.
Yeah.
Well, then you're not. So actually, this does solve the flag problem because it is.
Yeah.
I guess it would be weird to get now. I want to buy one. See, this is what happens. I start off being like, no, not going to do that, and then I'm like, well, wait a second, this is not.
Oh, I've always loved. I mean, the shoulder holsters. We grew up on Lethal Weapon. Like that's.
I grew up on Miami Vice, so yeah, same.
I'm not that old. I'm not that seasoned.
I'm pretty seasoned, brother.
Seasoned, well seasoned like cast iron.
I'm so seasoned that I registered when I registered for a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu tournament. Like the Masters division started 20 years ago for me, so I'm like, oh, okay.
They're like, our card doesn't go that high, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
Where do you belong?
There are no 50.
Hey, that's awesome that you're rolling at whatever age you are.
51.
That is actually incredible.
Almost
that really
52.
is. And
Almost
you don't 52. Look 52. You'd look barely older than me. And
if I had a full head of hair, I'd be able to do 21 Jump Street in a college.
It's true. It's true.
I'd be able to, hello, fellow young people.
Hello, Phil. With the skateboard and the flannel shirt.
Yeah. But I don't. I'm bald, so
so am I. That's why I'm wearing a hat.
Being bald and the $1.50 reading glasses from the dollar store. They make me look a little bit older.
Actually, I have those same ones, except for I don't wear them when we do podcasts because you'll just see my ring light and it's obnoxious.
That's a huge hack, by the way, for people with reading glasses. Dollar store, they got them.
Yeah, that's where I got mine at the Dollar General. It's the only store in my micro town.
You spend $17 on it, and then all of a sudden you can't. And they're really good for shooting too. I don't even have shooting glasses. I just wear these reading glasses.
Really? Wow.
Heck yeah! Look how big they are.
Well, yeah. I mean, are they impact resistant?
No. When springs fly out of my AR, they bounce right off of these things.
Bullet fragments go a little faster than springs.
So I will say this about let's get back on track here before we all get fired. I will say about this though is that it's so again, this does solve a problem with the flagging issue.
Yep.
And if you don't like Kydex, right? Like if you want leather, I'm thinking to myself like there would be a situation where if I was to rock leather, like I would think this is kind of cool actually.
I'm gonna be honest. I am getting tired of Kydex. Like really, I'm kind of just
take it back. I write for a Kydex holster company,
but I don't.
I don't write. Well, I do. So Kydex is I spend every week as I come up with a new way to talk about how awesome Kydex is. So
just personally, I have been really considering going with leather. And then the funny thing is, every time I think about trading in my getting very old Beretta Nano that I've been carrying for way over a decade, I'm like, I have all these holsters. Like, then I have to reholster. Like, why would I do that?
Moisture is the big problem with leather. And
that's true. That's
the thing is that it's just you're sweating. Although now, if you have a shoulder holster,
mm-hmm.
it's over a shirt.
Yes.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
You're not going to sweat as much as you would on your hip or on your appendix because you've got your pants and your shirt. You know what I'm saying? So like,
yes.
So because it's an outside of, obviously it's not on a waistband. So, I think you're going to have less moisture on a shoulder holster than you would on your waistband and in the IWB. So, all right, now I'm going to have to buy one of these now.
Yeah. For research purposes, of course.
Maybe they would just hear this and send me one. Counterbalance for shoulder system. Well, I'm putting this in the 2B TBD for myself later before I lose the link. All right.
The next thing on our list, I'm already scoped out. I might actually get it.
Go for it. What are we talking about next? We didn't see any of the websites for any of these things.
Sounds like something the host should probably rectify.
Yeah. All right. So for the Falco Holsters is firearmsnews.com has the actual article about it. But if you Falco Holster, I thought you'd get more excited about my Sako gun. I would think that would be cool.
The what?
My Finland Seiko gun, yeah.
Oh, that's rad.
Cool. I was expecting you to like throw your hat up and go, hot diggity dog.
Hot diggity, Wade.
FalcoHolsters.com, FalcoHolsters.com. All right, so the next one.
Yeah, so actually this one kind of is in the same vein as the what we were talking about with the CMP. The gunsmithing thing. This is the real Avid Master Workbench Block Pro Kit, and it's already in my Amazon. It's in my cart.
And the website is realavid.com, realavid.com.
All you AR guys, just buy it. The street price is the same as the MSRP. It's $79.99 on Amazon. And so it's a punch kit. It's got a little hammer with it. It's got the nylon head and a brass head. It's got a common punch kit, but then you take it apart. It's a little toolkit. You take it apart, and then the top of the toolkit is actually it's a gas block, so you can do all of this stuff. Basically, it's basically for AR guys. Like they're not saying that, they say it's for everyone, but it's for AR guys. It comes with a pair of little clamps, so you can clamp things down like a gas tube. And you have to drive in those obnoxious little microscopic roll pins from hell. And then it's not contoured for an AR lower, but it's a little tiny block so that you can do that. And man, it's such a cool idea. If you're an AR builder or if you're a pistol builder, Glocks and SIGs, you can buy all that stuff that's not branded anymore. You really ought to get this, because you use punches and then non-metallic hammers and brass hammers. You're always needing them all the time, and it's all in one place, and it's got a little built-in work mat and little work block to do this stuff. So I mean, it's really cool. I'm buying it.
Well, what's cool about this too is it's mobile, right? So you could put this in your range bag.
It's really small.
Yeah, it is. You can put it in your truck, and then you get to be that guy who someone has a problem on the range.
Oh, you have problem?
Like let me.
Exactly.
Yeah. You may have you may be. You're like the gunsmithing version of the medical kit guy, right? Like who has like, oh, you do chest seal? I have it right here, right?
That's right. I just happen to carry this with me.
Yes, exactly. I happen to have a trachea tube and a chest seal and some lubricant with me right now, just in case we need it.
Just in case.
You never know when you need lubricant. And that was so funny with my IFAC, right? It's the first thing I did was like, I'm not clearing anyone's airway with this. I don't know how to do this. I'm going to kill someone. Like,
yes.
we could just good talk, Wade. No, but you can be the version of this with this, because this is like, you will need this on the range at some point, or someone on the range.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, should be standard. This should be standard fare. I mean, like I said, especially for the DIY, for the builders, AR and pistol builders, man.
Well, when you clean it, right? So, I mean, like, because, I don't know if I'm sure you've never done this, but some people might have to take like a screwdriver that's not really meant to do it and kind of hitting it with something else to kind of punch it out, right? Like you don't want to do that.
Not sure what you're talking about, but you shouldn't do that.
You shouldn't do that. You should have the proper tools.
You definitely should. Don't ever use a screwdriver for anything on a gun that isn't a screw, please.
I think what everyone's learning is don't ever shoot Wade's AR.
I'm looking at like,
if Wade hands you an AR to shoot, that's his. That he's been responsible for maintaining.
Why is the selector switch just spin?
Don't even take it.
Oh dear Lord.
Yeah.
All right, anyway,
stuff like this is cool though, because this solves it solves a problem that you don't have until you start to actually
when you have a
gun for a while.
When you're building them, you have this problem.
Yeah.
Just get it. It's $80.
Even when you're taking it apart or cleaning it or putting something new on it or changing parts out, or you don't even have to build your own AR. So it's like, it's just when you're going to change something out on it, you need this. So
and they have a full line of gunsmithing kits. So and those are worth their money if you're going to even just be an armor on your own weapons correctly. You get the tools for the job. Don't go rooting around your toolbox for your greasy stuff that you tune up your Cub Cadet lawnmower with. All right, get tools for your guns that are made for them. Buy them.
They have another. This is off topic, but they have another thing on their line, which is a precision engineered press fit sight changer for Glocks, like specifically. So I don't know if you've ever tried to change the sights on a Glock, but
nope, just my Smith & Wesson, and they were easy.
No, the Glock, it's this makes it look, the sight pusher for Glock makes it look like this is pretty easy. to do.
Yeah, I've seen it. I know what you're talking about.
You know, whereas, because let's just say that the process that for my changing the factory sights for night sights on my Glock 17 was traumatizing.
I knew they were a pain in the butt. And that's one thing. I really am an apologist for the Smith & Wesson M&Ps. I love them. It's just a really great guy. Not to take away from Glocks, they're awesome. I've had Glocks also.
I'm sure the thing about the, I said this to you before, is like I'm just sticking with the Glocks until I feel like I'm super proficient. I'm proficient enough at them that I can spend time on another platform, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the way that I look at it is I want to spend all my time putting rounds on the gun that I need to use.
Oh no, you're absolutely right.
Until I would rather put 10,000 rounds through that Glock than put 5,000 rounds to that, and then like 1,005 other different guns, right? Like,
no, you're absolutely right.
I take a very utilitarian view of it though too. So,
well, it's the ultimate utilitarian pistol. So I think you're dead on.
Well,
but yeah, again, I did know that the sights are a nightmare.
Yeah, well, it's a mystery of mysteries as to why they
because that's what
with the crappiest sights ever.
Because that's what I was getting at with M&P is it's just got the beaver tail design, so you can just take a brass punch and a small brass hammer and just tap it out, and then just tap the new one right in place, and it's a tight enough fit that it's not coming loose. You know, it presses in there. You have to use a little bit of force, but as long as you have a non-marring surface on a regular bench vise, you don't really need much in the way of special tools. Just use brass punches for like the M&P sights. I did mine in 10 minutes. And
I'm probably because again, I'm the least handy person I know. So like, I'm probably a bad person to talk about it. Maybe Glocks are super easy and everyone's like, oh,
no, they have a unique sight thing. You have to have special tools. When that is one, if you're just going to run a stock Glock, it doesn't matter. You know, you can put 50,000 rounds through it and the sights will be perfect forever. But if you want to update those or upgrade them, then those are actually a pain from everyone I've ever heard. So,
well, I wanted to, so my Glock 17, I wanted to have night sights on it because
that's why I have
that's the one that if everything is dark in my hill, so I can't see anything, like I can't, like the night sights are what you need. But for my EDC, it's like I finally broke down and put a red dot on it, and then you know, and then the iron sights are fine. So anyway,
real Avid, they have cool stuff. If you do your own tinkering on guns, check them out. Get this kit if you're going to build pistols or ARs. Specific, I say those because this is a punch kit for roll pins.
Yep.
So
the other websites that we went over today were the B&T is bt.usa.com. That's the suppressor site. The Elite Tactical Systems with the translucent Glock magazine is go ahead.
Caveat, it's Silencer Shop is the one selling those silencers. It's on the B&T silencers.
Copy that. Yep. And then the Elite Tactical Systems is etsgroup.us.
Yep.
And there's the American Gunsmithing Institute.net, which is the longest website address I've ever seen. American Gunsmithing Institute, all one word, all spelled out. Get it together, American Gunsmithing Institute. Can't you just be like AGI.net, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah.
Their SEO guy got in there and said, it's got to be American Gunsmithing Institute. And
we've researched this.
Yes. And then Falco, yes, that's what you're doing at .net. And then it's falcoholsters.com, and again, realavid.com. Awesome. Well, we had a pretty wide-ranging podcast today with a lot of personal anecdotes from me. Do you have a personal anecdote that you would like to share today, John?
No, it's going to feel like 115 here in the Heartland, so I'm going to hide out in my office and just try to say cool. That's all I've got.
I like whatever you're trying to do over there. But again, as always, I know we do one of these every couple of weeks, and I actually do really enjoy it. And all I do is really close myself on buying new stuff I probably shouldn't get. So that's always good. You're going to see me with a shoulder holster, rocking the translucent Glock19 magazines with a threaded barrel and a suppressor on it.
Oh my gosh!
And I'm going to have a battle belt that's going to have this pro kit on it, and that's I'm going to just be walking around like that.
That's, and walking into Walmart like that.
No, walking on the range like that and be like, who needs a punch kit?
They're like, why'd you bring a punch kit to the range?
Because someone's going to need it. I'm telling you, I'm just going to stand here until someone needs it. Yeah. But, all right, brother. Well, I appreciate you. As always, we'll talk to you in a couple of weeks.
Sounds good.
You've been listening to the Tactical Business Podcast with Wes Kolsky and his co-host, John McCoy.
Sorry.